Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC Fight Night, Pavlovich V Blaydes. Let's just get into it. We had a nice, easy, breezy fight night. It went by quick, so now I can go to sleep early and have a nice day, but there's some problems with this card, and we'll talk about it. First thing is important. Are there any injustices? Yes, somebody got robbed. We'll get into it right now. Rosa versus Dumont. Clear as day robbery. But before we get into the actual fight, little backstory that was just given to us before, or unless you maybe watched an interview or were told about this prior. The winner of this fight is going to fight for the most forgotten, unnecessary, and least exciting belt in the UFC portfolio, which is the women's featherweight championship. This championship is only legitimized through Amanda Nunes fighting Chris Cyborg. And because of that, we still have to talk about this belt in some weird legitimate way. Now, when the broadcast told us that if Dumont wins, she gets a title shot, in the back of my head, I said, this is stupid. But in the front of my head, I said, okay, it makes sense because Dumont is fighting at 145 consistently. Who else is there to fight? But at the same time, there is no 145 division. This doesn't make any sense. It's almost like if just two people were like, hey, we're atomweights, we'll fight for a championship. It's like, but there's no other atomweights to like fight the loser of this fight. There's no atomweights to fight the winner of this fight. Like, this shit makes no sense. The division is basically made up of a bunch of 135ers who get offered to fight at 145, or a bunch of 135ers who can't cut it at 135, and so they'll fight at 145, or a bunch of fighters who are shit at 135 and so go down and so go up to 145. This division is stupid. So that's the backdrop for this entire fight. And then we get to the fight where it starts off terribly. The two girls are not engaging. So bad to the point where a person in the crowd just goes, if I think I remember what he says, let's go. Let's go. I think that's what he said, or let's fight. He said something hilarious and I just laughed out. And pretty much everyone's like, yeah, can these girls like fight now? And then once Tyone tells them, I believe it's Tyone, once Tyone tells them, hey, action, like, hurry up, that's when the fight essentially starts. So, like, a minute in of no action, and then we get the fighting. We go to the scorecards. I had this 29-28 for Rosa. This pissed me off so bad because it reminds me of, again, I forgot her name, but it reminds me of a fight in the Apex, another Apex robbery, where the Brazilian girl, I can't remember her name, I wish I had it off the top of my head, but the Brazilian girl fought the South Korean girl, and on all three judges' scorecards, she lost even though she outstruck her all the way. Whatever. It felt like that, but let's just score it. I had this 29-28 for Rosa. 10-9 in the first, 10-9 in the third, no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And then I gave it 10-9 to Dumont in the second, and I put a close marker on it. You can actually argue a 30-27 here for Rosa. But I keep saying for Rosa. But let's break this down. We go to the first round where Rosa outstrikes Dumont on the feet. Now, you hear that and you go, oh, she was getting outstruck up until the end. She was getting outstruck up until the end. The ticker gets close to where they're pretty much even on strikes, and right in that last 5 second part of the round, Rosa lands a 3-punch combo that puts her over. Not only that, there are sequences where they're both in the clinch, and Rosa is more active in the clinch than Dumont was in the clinch. She is outstriking her. If you're not even looking at the regular strike count, off the clinch strike count, she's outstriking her way more than Dumont is. So already there, Dumont is getting outstruck in the clinch, and she's getting outstruck, and she got outstruck in the feet at the very end. Simple round for Rosa. It doesn't go to her because what? It's the stupid thing where Dumont is basically pushing the pace and just hopping up and down and striking occasionally. That makes it look as though she's winning. Whatever. You go to round 2. Okay, it's close on the feet again, and it's close on the feet again, but Dumont is outstriking her very slightly, and then the same thing happens in the clinch where they're both going at each other in the clinch. A lot of time spent on the clinch in this round, and it's pretty close. You can kind of give it to either person really, and I lean towards Dumont in this second round. But you can argue this round for Rosa. It's not as though Dumont ran away with this round. It's very close. Dumont barely outstruck her on the feet, and then they both kind of clinch up for a large portion of this round. The defining factor is obviously the first one, but then the one that settles this is the third one, where in the third round both get a takedown, but Jose has a takedown and has a few ground and pound shots. But not even just that. Rosa outstrikes Dumont on the feet, and she drops her. Now, there's no controversy in how they score the third round, but this is a simple round for Rosa. The round in question, if there is to be one, is round number 1, where Rosa did enough, and maybe a little bit more, to win this round. This is a pure robbery. This could have gone either way, Nas. I don't want to hear that. No. Rosa got robbed. Dumont's going to win this fight. And now they're going to make... this should be a fight night. They're going to make Nunes versus Dumont on a pay-per-view. Because it's a championship belt. I mean, the last time I remember a championship being fought on a fight night, if I can remember, is Valentina versus Carmouche in Uruguay. And the only reason why they put that in Uruguay is because Valentina can speak Spanish. And the only reason why they put that on a fight night is because Carmouche sucks. I know she's doing well in Bellator, but that's a testament. I mean, someone should break down the... I'm tired of every time a UFC fighter who stayed a long time in the UFC gets cut or moves to a different different organization, that, you know, the fans go, oh, why did they let Shane Burgos go? Well, look what happened. That's why they let Shane Burgos go. Because there's no point in that. Why did they let Carmouche go? Because Carmouche can fight underlings in Hawaii and become a champion. That's insane. Think of the amount of girls that can beat Liz Carmouche, and Liz Carmouche is a champion in another division. That's whatever. That's the second point. But the point I'm making is Dumont versus Amanda Nunes should be a fight night. But it won't be, because Amanda Nunes has a huge profile. They'll put that as probably like a co-main. I believe so. A co-main to a pay-per-view. Or they'll put it as one of those they'll do like a triple thing, like they did with that Usman versus Colby card in Madison Square Garden, right? Where they did like 3 straight champions, right? They'll probably do one of those. Bad decision, robbery. Rosa got robbed. We'll move on. We go to the honorable mentions now. Okay, first honorable mention: Hiestand versus Batgerel. I had Hiestand won by TKO in the third round. I had the first 2 rounds for Batgerel at 10-9, obviously. In the first round, Batgerel outstruck Hiestand on the feet. Both caught each other with big strikes, but Batgerel outstruck him in total. You get the second round where Hiestand had 2 takedowns. Now, this is important. Hiestand had 2 takedowns, but Batgerel dropped Hiestand. He reversed one of the takedowns and had a lot of ground and pound. You go to the judges' scorecards. Actually, before we even get to the Hiestand thing, back to the Rosa Dumont, I'll just read out the scorecards. This will be quick. Ben Cartlidge, Junichiro Kamijo, Ron McCarthy all scored it the exact same way, which was first 2 rounds to Dumont, and then the last round for Rosa. nonsense. Back over to Hiestand versus Batgerel. Ben Cartlidge, Ron McCarthy, Jacob Montalvo, all three in the first round had it 10-9 to Batgerel. And then all three had it a 10-9 in the second round, except for Ron McCarthy, who gave a 10-8 to Batgerel. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Now, would it have mattered if this went to decision? Would it have changed anything? Probably not, but I disagree. Honorable mention to Ron McCarthy. I think that's a stupid 10-8. It's a stupid 10-8. The two takedowns that Hiestand had should nullify a signification. Should nullify a 10-8, but it doesn't. He gave him a 10-8, and then weird stoppage where, in my head, the back of my head, I was like, that's a quick stoppage, and then in the front of my head, I was like, he's not moving his head. And Jaron Valal, who is the most timid ref on the planet, is saying, I'm going to stop this. Move your head. And I'm like, what the fuck? Can you do what everyone other ref does, which is scream at the fighter and say, move, move, move. But instead, he just goes, he waits till he gets 70 shots in and then goes, move. No, I'm going to stop this. Oh my God. It's a good stoppage. I'm not shitting on the stoppage. It's just, it's an awkward look. Usually you'd like to see the fighter move out, because it's one of those cases where when a fighter wins the first 2 rounds, you just hope he survives and then he gets his win and he goes home. Instead, it's he just didn't listen and he lost. So there's that. You go to the next honorable mention. A fighter who I thought was terrible because of how he fought in France, but then I guess, like the commentary said, he got his eye fixed. He was having an eye issue, then he got his eye fixed, and boom, now he fights a lot better than what we initially thought. It was Marshall versus Gomez. I'm sure if you're French, it's Gomis. I'm gonna say Gomez. Gomez is who I was talking to. Marshall versus Gomez. This fight ended in a split decision. Stupid. 29-28 for Gomis. For Gomez is how I scored it. I gave the first 2 rounds to Gomez, and the last round obviously went to Marshall. You go to the first round where it's close on the feet. You give the edge to Gomez. There was like a weird clinch position that happened in the middle of the round. That's irrelevant. Gomez outstruck Marshall. Simple. You go to the third round. Just go to the second round. Gomez outstruck Marshall by about, I want to say, like 3 to 5 strikes. So there's that. And then you go to the last round where Marshall got a takedown, had some ground and pound, had a submission attempt. And this was all, after being on the feet for a little bit, this was like at the 3 2-minute mark of the very last round. So that's why the third round goes to Marshall. You go to the judges' scorecards. Adelaide Bird, her scorecard reflects mine. Eric Colon, his scorecard reflects mine. And then Ben Cartlidge just gives the second round to Marshall. It's an honorable mention still to Ben Cartlidge, but still, I mean, I get it. It's kind of close on strikes, so I could see him being like, it's not close enough to, in my opinion, no, it's a bad scorecard, but it's not too bad. It's not like, Rosa Dumont scorecards. So there's that. You go to the next honorable mention. And that's Wells versus Semelsberger. This fight was fun. I hope this gets fight of the night. I haven't checked yet, but I'll check later on. This fight was insanely amazing. 30-27 is what I had it for Wells. 10-9 in all 3 rounds. This fight ended in a split decision again because people want to be goofy. There's always this weird, stupid debate. I think it's because the commentary, and I'm not saying, the commentary has no connection to what the judges are doing. I'm just saying in how people maybe understand this. The commentary always go, oh my God, the work he did he dropped him in the front. Yeah, but that doesn't matter. It was at the top of the round, and then Wells does all his business at the end. The judge probably didn't feel this way, but we'll break it down. First round, Semelsberger is outstruck on the feet. On the feet, he outstruck and he dropped Wells one time. They mistakenly said he dropped him twice. He dropped him one time. But And for a moment there, I actually thought they were going to stop it because of the way he fell down and the strikes happened. And if you look at some fights on the card, they were really quick to stopping fights. Very quick. Now, none of them, I think, were... One of them I felt was quick, but a lot of them were quick stoppages, but that's why I was very fearful of Wells, them stopping the Wells fight. But they didn't. So Wells gets dropped. He gets outstruck on the feet. And then essentially around the 3-minute mark gets a takedown, gets another takedown, and ground and pound just straight. That round goes to him. He withstood all the stuff that happened in the first 2 minutes of that very first round. You go to the second round. Semelsberger outstruck Wells on the feet again. There was a moment where he was throwing strikes on Wells, and he missed the strikes, but Wells swung so hard that he fell backwards. This wasn't a drop. The commentary felt as though it was a drop, and so in my head I was like, is this a drop? When I looked at it initially, when I saw it initially, I was like, that doesn't look like a drop. We've seen so many people get hit and drop that you're like, that doesn't look like a drop. You replay it back, wasn't a drop. So I had it the first time in my head. So there should be no about it. But even if you were to emulate what happened in the first round, so let's say like you in your head you're like, okay, he dropped him. Doesn't matter. Gets up again, gets a takedown, ground and pound for 3 straight minutes. No matter what, it's still Wells' round. Wells wins that round. You go to the third round. Wells had 3 takedowns. This time he had 3 takedowns with ground and pound for 3+ minutes. The round goes to him. You go to the judges' scorecards. Eric Colon, 30-27, scorecard reflects mine. Junichiro Kamijo, 30-27, scorecard reflects mine. And then Rick Winter, honorable mention of Rick Winter. He gives the first 2 rounds to Semelsberger. It'd be funny if he gave the first round to him. Maybe I'd be a little more standoffish. Still the wrong one, honorable mention of both rounds. But then he gives the second one, which is even, I think, stupider. One, he doesn't get dropped. Let's say he thinks he gets dropped. He doesn't get dropped, but Wells takes him down much earlier than he did in the first and gives out much better ground and pound. So, nonsense there. He had it 29-28 for Semelsberger. Next honorable mention, that's the end of the honorable mentions. Now we just talk about the last thing. Green versus Gordan. Green was doing well on the feet, but Gordan was getting some good strikes, and to the point where he was a little up on strikes on Green. And maybe Green would have had him, but problem is Green went in for like a right hand. Instead, his head hits Green hits the side of Gordon's head, and boom, he goes down, and then Green finishes him with ground and pound. Paul on commentary, as you know, Paul. This is what's funny about commentary. These guys can't hide their emotions. I don't like to say that these guys are biased on commentary, because that would, I only say that for Bisping because I hate Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping is the most biased person on commentary. But the reason why I say they're not biased on commentary is because maybe they're just saying things a certain way. Paul Felder, Paul Felder had his Dan Hardy moment. He had his stop the fight moment, but in a different way, where he's like, no, this can't end like this. No. And I'm just like, dude, calm the fuck down. Like, the commission looks at it. Okay, calm the fuck down. He's over here having a tantrum. Now, I'm not saying he shouldn't do that. He's a commentator. He shouldn't do that. It's one thing if he were, a cornerman, right? Then it's like, okay, you should express to the commission that, yo, this is fucked up. He hit his head. This shouldn't count as a fucking TKO or a KO. Instead, he just he just wails, and it's like, oh, to the point where I think someone in his ear or someone next to him just says, tells him to chill out, and then they're like, I'm calm. He's like, I'm calm, I'm chill. So they definitely felt the same thing. I was feeling at home where I was like, this is awkward. You shouldn't display this sort of like, you shouldn't sound this way when referring to how Gordan went down. You shouldn't, because you could argue the same thing for a lot of other fighters, right? During 287, I think it's 287. Yeah, during 287, when Curtis got hit with the headbutt, you didn't see DC going, "Oh my God, he got hit with the head." Like that you're at that point you're doing too much on you're adding a certain, for lack of a better word, you're adding a certain bias to how we look at these things, and so he did that a little bit. But back to the point. Besides Felder, I like Paul Felder. It's not an anti-Felder thing. Gordan finishes him with the headbutt and with some strikes on the bottom. The commission looks at it and they're like, okay, boom, no contest. Boom, we hit him with a no contest, and that's pretty much the end of it. Then we had Tavares and Silva, where pretty much they were just going back and forth, and then another Silva finishes him with a TKO, but another instance of just a really quick leash. These Vegas guys have a really quick leash. It's insane. It's weird how the benefit of the doubt certain fighters get. Like, if this is a pay-per-view main event, right? Big name fighters, you get a little bit of time. These guys, no. I mean, is it a good stoppage? Sure. Because he falls down, but then Silva hits him with some shots, and Tavares is like swimming. He's moving out of the way a little bit. And I know in the back of Dominic Cruz's head, he's like, they stopped it early. He's feeling it, dude. If there's one person who could relate, it's him feeling of just like, man, they stopped this fucking fight early. I was getting up, like, just, it's one of those things where, in my head, it's an early stoppage. Do we care enough? No, it's not that bad of an early stoppage to where we shouldn't care, or to where we should care. But in my head, I think they should have left it a little more. It's weird. It's a weird one. And then we go to Pavlovich versus Blaydes, where in my head I was thinking, okay, if Blaydes wins, it's gonna go 5. And then if Pavlovich wins, it ends in the first, maybe the second round. But I don't think it ends in the second round. Pavlovich wins by TKO. Minty Betts, who I don't know whether I like her or I don't like her, but I'm gonna say I don't like her just for the fuck of it. Don't like Yanni the Greek. We never liked Yanni the Greek. All his shit sucked. But Minty Betts seems to be picking safe bets. All her bets that she displays or shows to the audience are all safe bets. One thing that I found annoying is, instead of just saying who you think who will win, she was like, yeah, I have Pavlovich versus Blaydes is this fight is, I forgot how she characterized it, and she was just like, this fight isn't going the distance. I have this at 1.5. I'm like, bitch, hold on. If you have this exactly at 1.5 rounds, who do you think is gonna win? Like, that's the shit that I hate. They won't just be like, yo, this is 1.5 rounds, Blaydes wins. Pavlovich is gonna win. But it's whatever. It's all window dressing. Great night of fights. It was a great night of fights. Great, entertaining to watch. A really good fight night. There's a robbery, and so I don't like that. But great night of fights. That is all. Thank you all for listening, and God bless.